Hello YouTube. This is the known list of items on the gasser. And that's just the engine swaps. I'm not going to go through them. But the ones I have marked with asterisks, red asterisks, are things that have to be done before we go down the track. So those have a high priority. This one is fairly simple. This one is fairly simple. This one we've got some fabrication to do. And this one, I haven't had the problem happen again. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this. But we had two occurrences where the car just shut off. All the power was gone for no reason. And then it came back. And we haven't found a solution to that because the problem hasn't reoccurred. And that's a bad thing. So let's start by bolts and sleeves on the 4-bolt bracket. Up in the air it goes. When we had the car over at Randy Jewell's to have the cage put in, he kind of looked over the car and he said the one thing he didn't really like was the thickness of these brackets for taking the horsepower we have and dumping it into a trans brake at the start line. So what he recommended is we take and we put in each one of these holes a sleeve and a bolt so that this is bolted up and down all the way. We really can't do that because right here you can see that the heim joint is actually protruding in this hole right here. So we can put one here and we can put one here, and then this is probably going to be an interference, and then we can't put one here because of the heim joint. So let's count up how many we need and make some. By my count, we need 1, 2, and possibly 3 for this bracket. And I count 1, 2 for the rear. So that's 5 aside. But let's make 1 and test fit it and go from there. These bolts fit the way they should. Let's make a sleeve. What we need is a sleeve that is that wide, however wide that is. That says 0.721. So we'll call it 720, and let's go cut a sleeve. I took this bolt to the local metal supplier and found a piece of tubing that had a hole in the center of it, just the right size for that bolt. Now what we have to do is cut slices, and there's a bunch of ways to do that. I could use a bandsaw, but I think it would take forever on a bandsaw. Cut-off wheel, I can use a cut-off wheel, it'll go through there pretty quick, but it won't be as accurate. I'm going to try the cut-off wheel first. I've made 10 sleeves to fit inside the 4-bar brackets. Turns out that each one of these is a different size. They aren't all the same, and that's because when the plates for the 4-bar brackets were welded in, they weren't exactly parallel, and therefore the bottom is a little wide and the top is a little tight. But it's good enough, and we can bolt these in and they fit. It wasn't without errors though. I did make some errors. These don't fit. How did I do it? Well, I'll show you. The way I ended up doing my measurements was I took a sleeve that I'd made and tried it in the next slot. And if it was too big, then I'd make the next piece smaller. And if it was sloppy, I made the next piece larger. And I had to accommodate for the depth of the saw. So I marked the pipe by setting the sleeve that I knew the dimensions of on the pipe and putting the tape in back of that sleeve and adding or taking away space for the next sleeve to fit, and also leaving enough room for the kerf of the carbide disc. And I cut it off. Watch the water carefully. This is hot. Did you see it boil for a minute? We put a 45-degree chamfer on the edge so it'll slide into the bracket and not get hung up on any burrs. Now we true up the ends and take any burrs off of them. And once again, it's hot. And then we do a test fit. And we want it to fit with no give either way. And we want the bolt to go through it. And we'll put a nut on the back side. And we'll have reinforced this bracket. And that's how I made these sleeves. Now, what's going to happen is, I'm going to take these sleeves and sandblast and powder coat because it'll rust otherwise. And when I put the powder on the ends, it's not going to fit anymore. And I'll have to grind the powder back off. But that's an easy enough thing to do. And this is a 2-coat process, and we'll do it this way. Sandblasting is next. And this is what they look like when they're done. And there we have our sleeves. Now it's time to powder coat. A little bath and brake clean will clean any remaining dust or dirt or oil. I'd use paint thinner, but I'm out. And it hasn't been delivered yet. We have our sleeves hung in the powder coat booth, but we can't powder coat them just yet. What we have to do is what's called outgassing. And the reason we want to outgas is because when they make this metal, there can be air trapped in the metal, and we don't want that air escaping when we put a coat of powder on this metal. What will happen is you get a little air bubble, and it looks terrible. So what we have to do is put it in the oven at a higher temperature than what we're going to powder coat at, and let it sit there for a while, and then we can powder coat. We have our 10 sleeves in the oven at 500 degrees, actually 501.8. We'll set our timer for 30 minutes. Okay, let's pull them out. So if they've been outgassed, they'll actually have changed color. And as you can see, they have changed color. They're almost purple. And that has to do with the temperature they were at for the 30 minutes. Now what we have to do is let them cool, and then we're ready for powder coat. These are pretty hot, and they're going to take a while to cool down. We'll turn a fan on it to help them cool down a little bit, but it's thick metal, so it's going to take a while. With the sleeves completely cool, we can apply the base coat of our 2-coat system here. So let's do it. We can now transfer the sleeves to the preheated oven of 400 degrees. We want to do this as quickly as we can so we don't lose temperature. Just that quick open time cost us 20 degrees. Base coat is cured. It's time to put them on the cooling rack. With our sleeves once again cool, we can put the top coat on, and you'll notice that the top coat is white when we put it on, but that's not how it comes out. Once again, we go into the oven. And we're going to go 20 minutes at 400 degrees. I think our sleeves are done. And they'll reveal their new color. With the sleeves out of the oven and cool, we find one of the problems with powder, and that is it has thickness. And it has enough thickness that it now does not allow the bolt to go into the hole. So we have to clearance those holes, or clean out those holes so that the bolts will go in. And in fact, that's fairly easy to do. All we have to do is take a 5/8 inch drill, which is the size of the bolt, and clean out the inside. I need new belts on this drill press. They squeal when the drill encounters a resistance. And now our bolt fits. Now the bolts fit in the sleeves, but we still have a powder coat thickness problem. And that is, each one of these sleeves was fit into the bracket as bare metal. So what we have to do is take the powder off the ends, and what we're going to end up with is just powder on the outer surface. So you'll be able to see the powder in the bracket, but this is going to be bare and the inside is going to be bare. What we'll do is we'll take each sleeve, put it in a vise, tighten it up, and I'd love to see what would happen with paint that's this fresh if you did that, and take the stripper wheel and take the powder off the ends of these sleeves. And now we have a sleeve that's ready to go in, and no damage from being in the vise or for being in the drill press. What I've done is lined up all the sleeves in order of height, this being the smallest and this being the largest, because each one of these things is a different size. And I know that this was about the third smallest size in the whole bunch. So this shim just fits into our bracket, and we can put a lock washer and a nut on it. And we'll do that all the way around, and once we got them all in, we'll tighten them up. This is what it looks like. Was it worth powder coating? Yes, I think it was. I like it. This is the last bolt for all the bolts and the sleeves that we made. We have sleeves in every vacant hole that we can put one in, and in every bracket that we can put them in. That means we can remove this task. The next task is fairly easy. What I'd like to do is flush the antifreeze out of the system, because the track officials don't want it. So we'll start with the radiator. We'll take the cap off so air can get in the system. And we'll wait for that to drain. Next, let's drain the driver's side of the block. Let's drain the passenger side now. With the block and radiator drained out, we'll put the plugs back in finger tight. We'll fill the cooling system up with water. With the cooling system full of water, we'll run the water pump to circulate water in the motor and dilute any antifreeze that's left in the motor. We'll let it run a couple minutes. Now that the pump has been running for a couple minutes, we'll pull these plugs out again and drain the block, and we won't capture it. We're just going to let the water drain on the floor. Holy smokes. That's both plugs, and now we'll do the radiator. So we filled the system with water, ran it. Now we're draining it out of water, and we'll fill it one more time. With the cooling system drained of water again, we'll take and put a little thread sealant on our plug to help come out again in the fall, and put it in. Close off the radiator drain. Add a rust preventative. And once again, fill with water. With the radiator full of water, we'll run the pump again to try to get as much air out of the system as we can. I think we can safely say that we've drained the antifreeze out of the car. However, we have to add a task, and it should have been here. And that's nut and bolt the car. And by that, I mean I need to go through the car and put a wrench on every nut and bolt and make sure they're tight. So that is an important task. Oh my gosh, where'd the car go? Look, it looks like it left in a hurry. It did leave in a hurry. A spot opened up in the schedule of the paint shop, and they're going to paint it. It's going to be gone for 8 to 10 business days. We're going to do what we said. We're going to put a clear coat on it, and then maybe in a couple of years we'll put a shiny coat on it. But I have to say, this is the first time I'm completing a video and not completing all the tasks that I wanted to complete. I had wanted to get all the asterisk items off the board. We didn't do that, so we didn't succeed with all the tasks. But if you enjoyed this video, there will be more.